Welcome, guys. This is another interview from the cycle of BSL interviews with Super Gosu Chinese players. And today I'm here with Mr. Legend, aka LX, and of course with Mr. Small Husky, aka 4Blues. And we are here to interview Mr. Legend, Super Gosu Chinese player who used to be a pro gamer. He was no, he's a legend. He's known for all the world of StarCraft as a one of the best protos in the history. So, how are you, Mr. Legend? How is your life? What's up with you, and how is your skill? What's overall? Tell us something about yourself. How is your journey with StarCraft going?
好的，首先非常感谢罗贤选手，你可以来参加这次 Zero BSL 的主办人 Zero办了我们的这个国际采访。那么这个在西方全球你是非常有名的数一数二的神族选手。那么所以Zero 可不可以请问你先可不可以自我介绍一下你比如最近的星际，比如最近的生活、星际生涯，以及最近有哪一些星际圈的一些变动啊，或者一些新的一些成就之类的。
这个好像
自我介绍一下。简单的自我介绍一下，以及现在打星际的程度、频繁度啊等。
好的，就大家好，我是罗贤啊。因为我想我以前的职业经历的话，应该也不用重复，应该大家可能都应该知道。然后后来我是2010年 WCG 后就退役了嘛。然后退役后我就基本上接触的比较少啊。我是最近呢，因为就经常看其他选手的直播，然后就觉得蛮有意思的。然后中国呢，我们国内也组织很多一些像三炮他们组织一些线上的一些比赛，然后我就觉得也蛮有兴趣的，就想再参加一下，就想回来再试一试，就差不多是这样子的。
好的，了解，了解了，非常感谢。So Legend has he's been well, we all know that he's been one of the top Chinese professional players before 2010. So after he retired in 2010, he hasn't really been playing StarCraft a lot or almost at all. So Legend only returned recently after the rise of streaming, video game streaming, and also with the more frequent sponsored tournaments by Mr. San Pao, that these were sort of reasons that got Legend to become more interested in StarCraft once again, and he decided to participate sort of recently, just to give it a try again in the new environment.
Yeah, the environment is definitely much better compared to the years when Mr. Legend was the most active. But I still believe that his career is a huge success because if I'm remembering correctly, he went to Korea and became pro gamer in 2005, and I think he went there with PJ to the SK Telecom team. And it's pretty impressive. And does he have some stories from that area? Maybe he could share what are his memories from this area? Does we call it well, or maybe some stories what the practice looked like back in the days, and how is it compared to the nowadays practice of the pro gamers, of the best StarCraft players?
Awesome, thank you. Zero 选手说了解现在星际圈的整体环境，之前采访其他的中国选手说，也是相比于2010年左右的时候，这更加友好，更加积极了。那么大家都知道，你是最顶级的中国选手之一，当时应该是05年和 PJ 去了韩国，是去 SKT1 战队吧，是吧？然后呢， 所以这个 Zero 想请问，这个就是当时你在韩国的这个经历，有没有哪些这个有趣的经历或者故事可以和大家分享呢？比如当时在韩国的训练的流程是这个什么样的，以及比如说如果和今天的这些选手直播选手比起来，这个有哪些差别呢？
啊，那在韩国训练的时候，因为当时就大家对这个游戏咱们的整体的那个环境跟那个是不太一样的，因为当时韩国它是有那个每一个俱乐部差不多有接近20个职业选手，然后呢这些职业选手呢，他们只是互相训练，他们不太会去和别的队的人训练，然后呢我们得到了一些成果呢，就会自己分享，我们的录像呢也是不太会去上传给别人的。那现在它就不一样了，现在的这种直播时代了以后呢，就你可以看到最顶级的选手是怎么在打游戏，你可以学习到他的很多一些的操作的方式。所以说呢，就现在的星际它的进步是，就游戏的这个对理解是比我们以前要快很多了，进步要快很多了。所以说，现在直播时代的选手呢，也会比我们那个时候就要强很多。
了解了解，非常感谢。So Legend said, so back then, the Korean professional gaming scene was a lot more different from today. So, so basically, there's quite a few, big clans teams sponsored by corporates, I believe, and usually there would be around 20 pro gamers in every Korean professional team. So back then, the players from each team would generally only practice against each other, and they won't play or practice against professional gamers from other teams. And generally, their strategies or new breakthroughs and replays will not be shared with members of other teams, and only be shared between themselves. So that was a really big difference from today because we could learn how the top gamers all over the world play the game today just from watching their streams or their videos, and then many replays and tutorials are also open and translated to different languages today. So in comparison, players tend to improve at a much faster pace than they used to back then, before 2010. So that was the biggest difference there.
Oh, that's I understand, but does he feel like because of this replay, the access to the first person view, the possibility to watch the players? Excuse me, my neighbor. Does he think that it's possible to get to the Chinese to the Korean scene and get to the level of pro gamers much faster than it was before? Does he think that some of the players from outside Korea can, for example, qualify for the ASL? And what's his overall idea about the foreigner scene nowadays and skill within it?
Awesome, thank you very much. 那么 Zero 想请问你，就是从这个现在的这个，比如说第一视角的录像啊，以及第一视角直播教程等等，就是现在韩国职业的这些这些教材都会流出到这个全世界。那么因为这样的话，因为如此，那么这会在你看来，你觉得这个韩国职业选手和非韩的这个选手们之间的这个实力差距，会不会因为这个信息更加透明而这个慢慢缩小呢？你觉得这个以后这个非韩的这个顶级选手呢，这个是不是也会有机会参加 ASL 呢？
就理论上来说是这样子的，但是我感觉呢，就是说还是韩国选手的这个基数更大一点。它不像，因为我看了像我们国内的话，以中国为例的话，因为欧洲的我不太懂，因为现在欧洲我虽然也看到了很多优秀的选手，因为也是以前我没有听说过的，但是我就觉得，就我们的这个环境不太一样吧。就像国内的话，就可能就我知道比较年轻的选手就只有2个。就可能因为这个游戏它比较难，所以说 比较困难，那个接触的年轻人不会太多，不像韩国人。韩国人的话，他们这个星际争霸好像就像是一种文化了，所以他们会有前赴后继的，会有很多年轻人愿意想去学习，想去成为一个职业的选手。当然，因为像以前欧洲的选手，你看我像那谁啊，俄罗斯的那个 E 开头那个，他能打到2700-800分，我觉得真的是非常惊讶的。就以前来说的话，就在那个时代的话，欧洲选手就好像是做不到这样的水平。
了解了解，非常感谢。Yeah, so Legend said theoretically that would be the case since more information symmetry would generally result in less discrepancies between access to educational materials between Korean players and foreign players. However, there's one big fundamental difference which Legend believes exists between the Korean scene and the non-Korean foreign scene, which is this sort of StarCraft tradition.
Yeah.
So Legend said he doesn't really know if that's also the case in other foreign StarCraft scenes outside of China, but in China, so there's very few young people willing to participate in StarCraft, at least the original StarCraft, and because of the the sheer difficulty of this game, it's really newbie unfriendly. It takes so much practice to get even remotely competent, so that's a really big deterrent for young gamers, at least in China. So he thinks he knows only about 2 young players in China. I'm not really sure how young is he referring to, but and generally speaking, there's a lot more younger players in Korea who are willing to uptake this StarCraft tradition, and that's not really the case in China. So in general, that as as the StarCraft scene progresses, it may not necessarily be the case that the foreign and Korean scene would close the gap unless we have more young people willing to explore the game and the foreign scene. So, but Legend was very surprised and very impressed by some of the top European players such as Dawid, who was able to reach over 2700 on the ladder, and that was like that was really amazing. He thought, yeah. So who knows? But maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, that's very wise answer, and I do believe that's the case. That for nowadays small like younger people, StarCraft is too hard of a game to start playing, because it's like, to become good in StarCraft you need to spend so much time that those people are very, like, younger people are quitting the game too early to really feel the joy from the game. So I do believe that's the case, that the younger people are not playing, and so our community is based on the old fans and people who are coming back to StarCraft, and there are not too many young people like in Korea. So I agree, that's the case as well. But fortunately, we are still having those old school fans who are constantly watching BSL. For example, in BSL, we have over 70% people who are watching in an age between 25 and 34, and 25% above 34. So there is no people who are watching between the age of 18 to 25. So that's also a statistics which shows how good how many people are watching StarCraft in the younger age. And about the question, I wanted to ask, sorry that it's too long, but I wanted to ask if Mr. Legend have some biggest competitor, and if it's Mr. PJ, who was better, Mr. Legend or Mr. PJ, what he thinks.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, regarding the age groups.
Yeah, so it's
was it
18
25 to 34?
25 to 34 is around 70%, and 34 plus is around 25%, 30%, something like that. Yeah. So.
And rest is below 25.
Below 25 is like maybe 1 or 2%. So it's like, and rest is probably older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, I got it. Yeah, thank you. 这个 Zero 说你这个你的答案的确非常有智慧，因为现在这个年轻人确实是这个打星际的很少，因为投入的非常多，而这个现在年轻人也没有太多的毅力去坚持打星际，因为你需要练习很久才能到那种不是每盘都被虐的不成样子了那种，完全没有乐趣的。这个也因为的确也这样，我小学初中的时候也拉过20个同学来打，没有一个坚持下去的。我这个当然这个 Zero 这个也说，现在这个社群的确都是以这个以前老一辈的选手来支撑的，但是呢，这个还好，这个我们观众还是有很多的观众，所以对星际圈的发展也还是有一定的这个希望的，因为至少在这个 BSL 这个国际星际联赛上的这个统计数据是70%的观众都是25到34岁的，25%的这个左右的观众是34以上的，而这个25%以下的不是25的这个或者更年轻的观众可能也只有1%、2%这样的。不过，所以整体上可能西方也是欧美也是相似的这样的一个程度。那么这个 Zero 想这个再问你啊，这个你觉得自己的这个就是星际生涯来，这个有没有几个最大的这个对手？这个对手是谁呢？像这个是不是比如说像 PJ 呢？你觉得自己和 PJ 之间，这个是不是有一个最大的这个对手竞争关系呢？你觉得自己比更强还是 PJ 更强呢？
就对手而言的话，我觉得国内来说的话，我觉得 F91和 PJ 都是我最大的对手。然后如果说强的话，就是因为后来我打国内的比赛，就是在我的记忆中，我都是赢他们赢的多一点的，赢他们可能会多一点，就应该来说有个6-4开吧。但是他们确实是在有些比赛对我的淘汰的时候，对我造成了一些打击。就 PJ 有一次是 WCG 把我淘汰了，就中国去了3、4名，然后我输掉了嘛，因为前3名才能去参加嘛。还有一次就是什么 PRU 的第1人战决赛，我输给他了。就我跟他们，因为国内的当时比较强的选手就是他差不多我 PJ、Super 还有 F91，所以遇到他们遇到的是最多的。就 PJ 的话，应该来说是对于我造成的那个算是比较多了吧，所以我对他算是我对那个的一个对手吧。我有点
了解，
那个不了，组织不了，有点不是很适应。
了解，谢谢。And so back when Legend was more active, the top players were F91, PJ, and Super. So most of the times it's usually the top 4 competitions were between them. But Legend, he out of memory, he remembers, he recalls that he usually had a slight edge over the other players in domestic competitions. However, usually like PJ was his biggest nemesis because usually I think most of his losses were against PJ, and there were several times that Legend was unable to qualify for, I think, the international tournament stages because he lost to PJ on the round of 4, and only the top 3 players get to attend the international stage. So PJ is definitely the biggest nemesis or opponent for Legend.
That could have been expected because along with PJ they both went to Korea. So as Mr. J Star said, after they came back from Korea, their skill was a level below, a level above all the other players. So that's great to hear that we also had the similar view about how it looked like. I wanted to ask because he's like one of the best Protoss outside Korea in the history of StarCraft. Maybe he has some tips for the players who want to improve and are playing nowadays. Maybe he has some tips which he learned in the Korean Pro House, or maybe he developed them over the years of playing StarCraft. How he would advise players to maybe prepare for a match or maybe practice what's in his mind, how he is imagining is the best way to improve, and how how the training should look like to maybe have the best outcome out of the practice. Maybe he have some tips for the fans from all over the world.
Awesome, thank you very much. 这个Zero 说这个的确，因为这个能够想象，因为当时你和 PJ 是一起去的韩国，然后回来后就这个非常突飞猛进，那么这个实力这个长进非常大。那么现在这个就是 Zero 想问你，因为你也是这个世界这个星际历史上非韩神族这个最强人之一，所以这个想问，如果这个你现在以自己的经验现在这个来说的话，对于一些新一代的选手，这个练习星际啊或者打比赛，这些方面。比如准备比赛，如何练习来最佳才能够达到这个最佳提升效果，之类的这个一些建议，这个从你的这个职业生涯的角度经验，你有哪些这个给新的选手的这些建议呢？
这个，因为这个我是真的有点说不清。就是说，我的建议就是说，主要是呢要提高操作，然后呢学习，就是说你到了顶尖选手，就是一些操作的方式，就比如他们的一些编队啊，他们的造兵啊是怎么样的那个，然后学他们的一些建筑学啊，就是对于这样子的吧。然后呢，准备比赛呢，你就要去研究你的对手，你看这个对手有什么样的习惯，然后呢，再去准备一些一些能够反他的这种打法的，然后后来针对他。就像我之前刚击败那个 BOX 的时候，就是根据因为当时比较流行的打法是一个打法叫 SKT 的那种开局嘛，就是几个机枪兵的那种。然后呢，我就针对他们的开局就使用了一些，就说给他一些错误的错觉，假装我是龙骑，然后要开矿，然后结果呢我投了他的引刀，就反正就差不多类似的那个吧。就准备比赛是一件非常有意思的事情，就是你要去揣摩对手的心理，它跟平时练习就不一样。平时练习呢，其实就是练一些你的基本的操作，对吧？遇到什么样的情况，怎么样的应对。到了比赛的时候，你一定要打一些不一样的东西出来，就不能是在像你常规平时练习的那种打法去准备这场比赛，这样。
了解了解，这个比赛是这个赢的是 Boxer 是吧？当时那个韩国人皇。哦，
对。
了解了，非常厉害，非常厉害啊！Yeah, so for so regarding suggestions, etc. So the first thing that Legend would recommend would be to focus on your micro, especially by learning from top level professional players from their first person view, etc. Focus on how they use their hotkeys, how they assign their control groups, and also how they macro, how they build their units in general, and also how they also pay attention to their building placement. And regarding preparations for tournaments, one of the most important things that Legend recommends is to analyze your opponent thoroughly before each game. You want to know your opponent's style, your opponent's personality, and so to be able to prepare beforehand specialized strategies against your opponents. So, for example, when Legend won against Boxer, the top tier in back then 2005. Before that, I can't remember. So back then there was the TVP standard opener was called SKT1. So I think that in foreign scenes it's usually called FD, fake double. So you've got one tank and 6 marines and you push forward. So what Legend did was he tried to trick Boxer into believing that he's going into a Dragoon opener, but instead he went Dark Templar drops. So that was completely out of the ordinary expectations. So in general, what you want to do for actual tournaments is to be as different as possible from how you play during practice games. You want to be as unpredictable as possible for your opponents. And that's how you win, because actually in actual competitions, tournaments, it's very different from practice. It's more of like a poker game, sort of like a psychological analysis, sort of a game theory, rather than just pure mechanics or skill or standard openings, etc. So these would be his advice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think many players who are very, very good in regular games are falling during the tournaments because they are bringing the same strategies during the tournaments as they are playing during the practice games. So, yeah, I agree. There are, for example, we have some players who are not so good in the regular games, but they are great during the tournaments because they can do what Mr. Legend said, like, is bringing something new and out throwing your opponent from the standard zone which they and the comfort zone which they are in. So those are very, very extremely good tips from Mr. Legend. Yeah, maybe I will allow you to translate that because it will be too long.
Thank you。这个 Zero 说非常同意你观点，觉得这个非常有智慧、非常敏锐的这个洞见。因为他这个 Zero 也说，我们这个经常在这个 BSL 比赛的时候，也会经常看到，就是平时练习的时候打的这个基本功非常强的这个选手，虽然在比赛的时候，因为打的跟自己平时打的很像，所以反而比赛的时候老是这个失常，而一些平时这个练习的时候，其实打的并不怎么样，这个一般般的这个选手，在比赛的时候反而经常就像你说的这样出其不意，所以反而在比赛时老是这个能够有意外的收获。所以这个非常同意你的这个看法，非常感谢。
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask on what level Mr. Legend considers himself right now, like because I know that he said that he came back recently when the streaming was a factor, but is he treating StarCraft as a competition game, or maybe it's just a hobby for now? Like, is he still trying to win Mr. Sun Power tournaments or other tournaments? Or what's his approach to the game nowadays?
Awesome。这个，然后接着想这个问一下，就是你现在觉得自己现在打星际的这个实力，这个和以前相比，这个现在如何呢？而且以及这个你之前说，最近这个才回来打星际，觉得这个三炮啊这些比赛挺有意思的。那么现在你打星际，这个练星际以及直播的想达到的这个成就是什么呢？是想再次在这个大比赛里拿名次呢，拿第一名，还是说只是做一个休闲娱乐直播这样的？
我就因为作为一个选手来说的话，我是特别想在比赛中继续打出成绩的。而且我这1个月，我基本上因为我也没有工作，我就一直在不停的在去练习。但是相反，我发现可能就取得那个进步就特别小。就我可能现在在国内的水平就可能是在16强左右的水平，就比较菜，然后就也会觉得很失望吧。 然后我反正的期望值是就能够进入国内前3。就我会准备尝试一段时间嘛。就如果说实在是达不到那个水平，我再看要不要去做一些跟直播内容相关的，就解说一下比赛啊，也会。当然我还是会自己打的，就是想尝试就还有一些什么样的我忘了。
了解了解，大概问题对问的大概就是这些，谢谢。Yeah, so as an ex-professional player, Legend says he's still looking forward to make some have some good achievements in competitive games now. Preferably, like top three awards or achievements in some major Chinese StarCraft tournaments. However, so since he returned to StarCraft about a month ago, because he doesn't have a job anymore right now, so he's been playing StarCraft very actively. But he remarked that his improvements have been very limited in the past month. So, and like even now today, so he would at best be around like a round of 16 level. So he's very disappointed in himself, but he thinks he still wants to give it a try, give it his best to become a competitive player again. So he would still try for a period, for some time, but in case he couldn't achieve his goals of becoming the top 3 among Chinese players once again, he said he would consider moving on to commentaries. So it would still be related to StarCraft, and he would still play the game himself, but he'll move on to less competitive gameplays, if that's the case. Yeah.
So he came back recently, just a month ago. So I'm assuming that's not too much time to improve himself. So he shouldn't be so harsh. I do believe that with his experience and with his skill, it will take probably a little bit more, but he will come to the position when he will be top 3 China. So I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm pretty sure that most of the foreigner fans are crossing fingers for Mr. Legend to improve and to show us some great games. So that's great to hear that he still wants to be a competitive player, because this means that we will see him more often. Like, did he ever consider maybe playing some show matches against the foreigner players? Maybe he considered playing in BSL. Like, is there a chance that he was thinking about it?
这个所以这个 Zero 说你这个刚刚只是最近刚回来1个月，练了这么1个月，所以不要对自己希望你不要对自己这么苛刻那么这个 Zero 以及欧美的你的粉丝们也都会为你喝彩加油了，那么也相信你这个肯定能够回升到前3的，所以这个Zero 和这个欧美的粉丝这个。很希望看到这个你更多的这个比赛，所以他们想这个问这个你对来打这个中西方的这个这个友谊赛啊，以及赞助的这个点播赛，这个有没有兴趣？以及这个你有没有兴趣在未来参加这个BSL 国际联赛呢？
这个我肯定非常有兴趣啊，因为就像以前的个 PGL 会有很多欧洲的呀、韩国的呀，就这些选手加上国内的呀，就一起交流的话是件非常有趣的事情。因为我一直就觉得欧洲的很多星际选手的想法都非常有意思，就有的时候都值得我去学习。就上次我最近不也就经常看那个俄罗斯他的打迷糊的一些那个打法嘛，就觉得挺好玩的。就如果有机会的话，我是一定会参加的。
了解，非常感谢。So Legend says he's really interested, definitely interested to in attending BSL tournaments and also show matches between Chinese players and other foreign players. He mentioned that back then PGL, the PGL tournament was sort of like very multicultural. There were European, Americans, and Chinese and Korean players all together, and the sort of diversity and communication between different players and player bases and cultures would often lead to very interesting discussions and friendships, etc. So Legend's definitely very interested, and he's also been very interested in the play styles and the sort of strategic thinking of European players, and he's really excited to learn from top European players. So recently he's been addicted to watching Dawid's games against Mihu recently. So and he's been analyzing and learning from Dawid's games. So definitely he's very excited. We're very looking forward to more games between him and other foreign gamers.
That's great. That's really amazing. And I have one more question, but I don't know if Mr. Legend will want to answer it. If he won't, I will understand. But there are so many people which were approaching me to ask about the situation with Larva on the Zotac Cup. If he does have some comment about it, if like how does he view this situation? From his perspective, did he felt offended from Larva, or maybe he felt like it was a pretty funny joke, or what's his overall approach to this situation? Because I'm asking because it became a viral video. I believe it had few million views in Twitch, for example, because it was an event sponsored on Twitch, and that's why I wanted to know the Mr. Legend opinion, because I think there was not too many occasions for foreigner fans to know what's his approach to this situation.
Okay, yeah, that would seem to be a pretty difficult question to ask. I guess I'll try. 最后这个 Zero 有一个问题啊，就是想请问你，因为这个国外也有很多这个粉丝和观众这个对这个问题也很好奇，这个问题可能有些敏感，如果你不想回答的话，这个可以选择不用回答，就是好像是关于就是你跟这个 Larva 那个是那个虫族选手，韩国那个虫族选手好像在什么 Zotac 是 Zotac 跟索泰还是什么那个杯上，好像这个用好像是用脚打星际的有一次好像然后这个那一次就是这个Zero 和你的这个欧美粉丝们这个很好奇，就是你当时你怎么看这个情况？你是觉得就是有受到很大的侮辱还是当时很气愤，还是后来觉得也就是只当一个这个玩笑而已，就这样就过去了嘛？这个因为这还就是你的感受以及后来的看法，因为这个视频在国外传的特别火，所以大家都特别好奇。
这个就怎么说呢？其实说我时间过这么久了，其实我也就不是那么生气了，因为他那样的一个行为是非常不礼貌的，对吧？非常不礼貌的，就是说我并不会感觉到受到什么侮辱，因为当时我已经是8年也没有打星际了，但是呢，我是知道我肯定是打不过他了，但是我为了去参加这个比赛，我还是准备了很多，因为我知道还要抓口，当时也去波兰的抓口，然后我准备好了打 PVP， 对吧？虽然就是说这个并不是说我会因为我的实力而感到羞愧，我只是觉得就这个对手太没有礼貌了。他这个不仅是对我的，就对于像我们这些，就是说可能因为有些人他觉得事不关己，他觉得这个可能就只是一个大家一个玩笑啊什么的，对吧？但是我觉得这可能是对我还有我们国家的一个就不太好的一个行为吧。我不知道这个话怎么去说这个事情。但是呢，反正就也过了这么久了，对吧？我就只希望这个，就大家呢就玩游戏，大家玩的开心、礼貌一点，对吧？如果说 你要去做一些这样的事情，在游戏里面去做，我是不会觉得很那个。比如说你用皇后去变我的农民，对吧？你用皇后去暴杀我的农民啊，什么暴杀我的那个兵种，我都不会觉得有什么。但是你做出来的那个行为，好像就是一种特别挑衅的一个那个，就不太像你一个职业选手所做出来的这个事情，就显得你非常的没有一个这个职业的一个素养。
了解，非常感谢。我觉得了解这个问题可能也是比较敏感，很难回答。Yeah. So it's indeed a pretty difficult question. But Legend. So he did. So Legend said, basically, at the time he was sort of angry, because it's not really about sort of being offended or feeling insulted in any way, because back then Legend wasn't playing StarCraft at all. It's been many years since he was active in the StarCraft scene, so he knew that he would be losing. Like he never expected himself to win the game. However, from I think like from a perspective of respect or politeness, as in professionalism, Legend believes that it wasn't like Larva's action wasn't really professional in that sense, because it's if Larva did sort of the jokes or sort of similar behavior in the game, for example, infesting your command center with a queen, or or using spawn broodlings on zealots or something, that would be all fine because it's all within the game. But if you're doing it like physically in in front of an entire international audience, like physically using your feet, that Legend believes that is sort of like a little bit disrespectful, both to himself and also to other players in general, because like neither himself, or I think was it Idra or Draco, I can't remember, or the other non-Korean players who were invited expected themselves to win. Yeah. So, but they did prepare. They did prepare quite extensively for the game. So they were hoping or expecting at least some sort of mutual respect, since it's sort of like a pretty official game. So that was kind of out of the expectations for like a professional player, and on a level of professionalism and mutual respect. So, but I know it's been quite a while. So Legend says he's not really angry about it, but at least not anymore. But it was more of like a sort of like a disappointment, as in like a disappointment between the sort of the level of respect between the top Korean professionals, and how they treat the non-Korean ex-professionals who are of like an older generation, compared to Larva himself. So it was more about like politeness or respect, rather than about like insulting or winning or the game, etc. More or less.
Yeah, I understand. And when I watched that, I also felt the same as Mr. Legend. So I think this sort of behavior shouldn't happen, especially towards such a old school legend as Mr. Legend, because the Koreans probably are aware that they are on a different level than non-Koreans, but I believe they should respect all the players. And that was unnecessary to do something like that. So I think most of the foreign fans are with Mr. Legend on that. So huge thanks for answering for that question so deeply and so honestly. So we are really appreciating that. And on the other hand, the one bright thing about this is that there were many people who heard about StarCraft before hearing about it, but I don't think this is a good way to promote StarCraft. So I understand Mr. Legend feelings about it, and I feel that those sort of situations or those sort of things shouldn't happen during especially such a professional event when there is offline event and there are players flying to promote the game, and this is not how it should happen. So I understand it perfectly.
Thank you。这个所以我说这个非常同意这个你的观点，也这个能够这个深感这个能够非常理解，因为当时他自己看到这个 Larva 在这个直播上这个用脚打的时候，也觉得这个非常不妥，因为有些失望，因为无论这个就是 Larva 自己这个实力是当时很强还是怎么样，这个对一些老一辈的选手至少也应该有些最基本的这个尊重，尤其是像这种这个国际这个播的这样的这个比赛，所以当时这个也在这个国际上以及韩国也都产生一些这个轰动，而且这个韩国的大部分的观众也是这个觉得这个Larva 的这个表现这个很不妥的，所以这个也是难为你了，这个问这样的一个问题。不过，就是大家这个也是特别好奇嘛。不过这个ZZZero说另一个有些意想不到的结果就是这个事情这个也登上了非星际圈的这个新闻，在外国也反而这个虽然说这个其实是很不好的一个这个行为，一个并不是我们希望能够宣传星际一个方式，所以这个也是大家也是都这个非常这个赞同的看法，也觉得这个希望以后也不会这个样，也不会再有发生这样的事情。那么星际圈，我觉得这个也应该会接受这样的这个教训，以后应该也会这个对星际未来的发展会有一定的这个改变的。
Yeah, okay, so I wouldn't want to extend it for too long. Maybe Mr. Legend could tell us what are the channels where he's streaming, what are the links. Maybe he can send the links and tell the fans where they can follow him, what are the times he's streaming, and I will put this in the description of the video. So if he can let us know where we can follow him and watch his game, that would be amazing.
这个所以这个就是说，那么这个非常感谢这个能够这个有些为难这些问题啊，不过这个也非常感谢能够参加那么这个采访。那么最后呢，也想请问，就是你有没有你的这个自己的直播间以及这个其他的一些社交平台？如果你的这个欧美的粉丝想去关注你、看你直播，想这个赞助你的话，这个你能不能够提供一些这个链接来给 Zero，那么他会分享给这个欧美的观众们。
我好像在抖音上面直播，好像上面没有那个抖音的那个，因为好像我们的这个跟国外的版本的抖音都不一样。就如果说那个的话，到时候我会再说吧。就比如说，如果说下次我要是去参加一些欧美的一些比赛的话，我可能就会在那个斗鱼上播，对吧？我会把斗鱼上面的那个也打开，然后到时候再把房间号告。现在我没有在斗鱼上，是在那个抖音上面。抖音好像也有网页版，我不是很确定。有网页版吧，好像抖音有。
了解，应该是可以看的，中国这个国内版抖应该也是可以看的。好的，非常感谢。Yep, so Legend currently streams on the Chinese version of TikTok. So I think you mentioned that other foreign audiences can also access the Chinese version of TikTok, is it? Or...
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. He doesn't currently have Douyu, which could also be accessed by audiences outside of China. But if there's a need for an alternative channel, for example, when he participates in foreign tournaments or show matches, he will also open the Douyu channel, so there will be two different options for viewers. So yeah, so right now there's only TikTok. So but that he'll be able to share it with others for now. Yeah.
That's great. That's amazing. We will be happy to watch Mr. Legend, and I'm finishing with the BSL on 19th of December of this season. I hope to start next season in the next year. So if Mr. Legend will be interested, I will try to approach him about some show matches after the BSL will end. And for now, I don't want to take more of his time because it's already 50 minutes, and I'm a huge fan. I could do it for 2 days, so you probably know about it. But I'm assuming Mr. Small Husky and as well Mr. Legend is very tired, so I don't want to extend it. We can make it some other day. So to not make 3 hours interview, we can make 3 interviews with 1 hour. But actually, it was a pleasure, and it was it's very I'm very hyped about this interview. So thanks to Mr. Legend, I'm a huge fan.
Awesome, thank you very much. 这个 Zero 说，目前这一届的这个 BSL 13是在12月19号今年结束。那么明年年初的时候 ，BSL 的应该是第14届 BSL 开始，是这个非常非常希望你能够来参加这个明年的 BSL。然后呢，在今年这一届 BSL 13 BSL 结束之后呢，这个 Zero 也非常希望能够安排一些你和这个欧美选手的这个友谊赛，而且这个 Zero 说他是你的这个超级大粉丝，所以他这个非常非常开心，非常荣幸你这次能够来这个参加采访，而说如果可以的话，可以聊2天。可以继续聊2天2夜，但是今天已经很久了，那么所以就先到此为止啊！非常非常感谢，非常非常期待你能够来参加这个欧美的这个比赛。
好的，到时候你们可不要觉得我太菜，然后不想邀请我了。
肯定不会的。
开玩笑。
Yeah, so yeah, Legend said he's very excited to come, but please, please don't I don't know. He said he's not really good right now, so please don't make fun of him if he does come and underperform the expectations. But yeah, just joking. So
no worries.
Yeah.
He will probably come and destroy everyone very quickly. So no worries. We will find a good match for him. So, but it shows that he's very shy. Like those players are destroying their opponents much faster than very confident players. So good job.
这个 Zero 说不用担心，这个你肯定会很快的打败绝大部分的选手的，不要担心的。这个非常期待你能够来赶紧参加，来击败更多的选手。好的，
好，那结束了吗？
那就现在，那么就先是大概是这个样子啊，到此为止，也非常感谢啊，
好，客气了，那就
Thank you very much, and so
thank you, Mr. Legend, and thank you, Mr. Small Husky, for the translation. As always, it was a pleasure, and I'm sure we will see Mr. Legend very quickly, and foreigner scene will have a chance to love him again. If someone didn't have a chance to love him earlier, then they will have a chance. So thank you very much, and thanks, Mr. Small Husky. Huge thanks.
非常感谢，很快就会邀请你来再打这个比赛的。这个非常期待，也非常非常感谢这次的机会。
好，我肯定没有问题的。他对我来说根本就不算什么，我都是欧洲时间夜里玩的。
好的，那更好了。那个yeah, so Legend said he also plays on a European time zone, so apparently just like Fengzi, so he'll be delighted to come participate.
That's fantastic. Whenever we will launch new season, I will approach Mr. Legend, and whenever I will plan show match after December 19, I will approach him as well. So that's fantastic. That's good information. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you very much. 这个 Zero 这个会这个 这个知道这个非常好，因为很多中国选手也是这个因为时差，所以你跟疯子都是这个大半夜打的话，那么就更方便了。所以是的，所以这个 Zero 这个马上会这个 BSL 19结束13结束后马上就会来联系你，那么就敬请期待。
好 ，OK，再见。
好的，非常感谢。Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
拜拜。
好的，拜拜。
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Small Husky, as well for those amazing interviews. Maybe you have some social media where the StarCraft fans can follow you, or thank you for those interviews. Maybe there is something you would like to share with us.
Oh, thank you. Well, I feel I genuinely kind of felt like that I kind of botched up some parts of it, you know, with all the stammering, like autism incarnated. But yeah, thank you very much. Like I don't really have any StarCraft related platforms, I think. So yeah, but you could always reach me on Discord. My ID is just Small Husky and 4 Blues, basically the same. Yeah, and I think I'm in the Forum Brood War group. I just don't really type anything because you know, yeah.
you are active supporter of the foreigner community, but very shy. But still, your translation is magnificent. You are much better translator that I remember ASL used to have for the Korean to English interviews. I think if you recalling like some back in the days translations, it was like so. Thank you for your amazing job, and thank you for helping reaching to the players and setting it up. So I'm really appreciating that, and I feel like all the foreigner fans will appreciate it as well. So huge thanks to you, Mr. Small Husky.
Well, thank you very much as well. Thank you very much as well. I'm very delighted and very happy to be able to help connect the dots between the Western scene and the Chinese scene, because I always felt like this gap that could be made smaller, and we could connect the world closer than ever in the digital age. So I thought, why don't we try it? Well, now we have it, and I'm really happy about it, and I'm also very very grateful that we have so many volunteers like yourself, and still so many players that are willing to play the game, devote their life, the time to this game, even though there's no monetary gain or anything in general. Like if you want to make money, you wouldn't be playing StarCraft. It's for the love. It's for the community. It's not for anything else. And I'm very touched by this. I'm very happy about this. Like even though I don't play anymore actively anyway, and I suck. So, but I'm glad to see that other people are really good. There's still good and passionate players out there. Yeah. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone, and looking forward to the games. And
thank you very much, guys, for watching, and see you during the next interview.